All right, let's jump right in, shall we? Today's deep dive is all about prepping for that cabin crew instructor interview. And we've got a whole bunch of great resources for you. We've got career guides, interview guides, and of course, RoleCatcher's AI tools.
It's fascinating how automated recruitment is becoming. It's almost like you're up against bots these days.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, and that's where RoleCatcher can really help.
I see.
It helps you understand what those bots are looking for, how to impress them.
Oh, so it's like a cheat code for the interview game.
Exactly. Think of it as your secret weapon.
Ah,
But before we get to the AI stuff, let's break down the basics. What exactly is a cabin crew instructor? I mean, it's got to be more than just like teaching, right?
well, yeah, when I think of a cabin crew instructor, I picture someone who's not only like an expert in safety and procedures, but also someone who can inspire a room full of trainees.
You're absolutely right. A cabin crew instructor is responsible for shaping the next generation of professionals who ensure passenger safety and just a smooth flight experience overall. They're the guardians of those like crucial airline service standards that we all appreciate.
Okay, that definitely paints a much clearer picture. The career guide we have here mentions a pretty cool blend of classroom teaching, simulator work, and even some hands-on training inside an actual aircraft cabin.
It definitely can be exciting, especially if you enjoy a hands-on environment. Now, speaking of the work environment, it's not always glamorous. The guides also point out some potential downsides, like irregular working hours and a high-pressure environment.
Yeah, true.
So something to consider, especially if you're, someone who's looking for a standard 9 to 5 kind of job.
Good point. So, yeah, one day you might be jet setting with trainees, and the next you're burning the midnight oil prepping those lesson plans. It's definitely a career that requires, well, demands flexibility and a real passion for the industry.
Absolutely. And that passion is something you'll definitely want to showcase during your interview. So speaking of the interview, let's dive into some of those common questions that tend to trip people up, huh?
Okay, let's do it. The guides we have are full of sample questions, so let's unpack a few that really, get to the core of what it means to be a cabin crew instructor.
Okay, perfect. Let's start with a classic. Can you tell us about your experience working as a cabin crew instructor?
Hmm.
It sounds simple enough, but there's a lot you can do to make your answer really stand out.
Oh, we bet. So it's all about making a good first impression, right? What's the key to going beyond just listing your past roles?
Think about the specific skills and experiences that are highlighted in the job description. Use those as like guideposts to shape your answer. For example, if the job posting really emphasizes safety training, you want to highlight your experience in that area. Maybe even mention a specific training program that you developed or a challenging safety scenario you help trainees navigate.
Oh, right. And don't forget to quantify your achievements. Like instead of saying, I improved trainee performance, say something like, I implemented a new simulation training that boosted the average trainee score by 15%.
Exactly. Numbers just make your accomplishments so much more concrete and memorable, and that's where RoleCatcher comes in again. It can actually analyze job descriptions and even suggest which of your skills to emphasize based on what the employer is looking for.
That's super helpful, especially if you're applying for multiple roles with, slightly different requirements. Now, I'm curious about this next question. How do you ensure that new cabin crew members are properly trained and prepared for their duties? Sounds straightforward, but I'm sure there's a lot to unpack here.
There definitely is. The interviewer isn't just looking for a list of training modules. They want to see that you understand like adult learning principles and have a structured approach to training. Mention your methods for engaging trainees, like role-playing, simulations, and real-world case studies.
Oh, yeah. And it's not just about imparting knowledge, right? It's also about fostering that culture of continuous learning and mentorship.
You got it. Highlight how you support trainees beyond the initial training, like providing ongoing feedback, encouraging them to seek out mentorship, and even helping them connect with resources to stay up to date on industry changes. And here's where RoleCatcher can really shine. Again, it can analyze training trends and suggest techniques that are proven to be effective for the type of training you'll be doing.
Wow. So it's like having an AI training consultant by your side.
Precisely. It can even analyze practice interview answers and provide feedback so you can refine your delivery and content before the actual interview.
That's incredible.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move on to a question that can make even the most seasoned professionals sweat. Could you tell us about a time when you had to deal with a difficult cabin crew member?
Conflict resolution. Always a challenge. Definitely. This question is designed to assess your conflict management skills and your ability to remain professional under pressure. The key here is to use the STAR method to structure your answer.
Right, the SCAR method. Can you quickly remind our listener what that is?
Of course, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. Start by describing the specific situation, then outline the task at hand, detail the action you took to resolve the conflict, and finally, explain the positive result you achieved.
So instead of getting flustered or defensive, you're providing a clear and concise account of how you handle the challenging situation.
Exactly. And choose an example that really highlights your diplomacy, your problem-solving skills, and your ability to maintain a professional demeanor even when things get heated. Now, imagine practicing your answer and getting feedback from an AI that's analyzed thousands of similar responses. That's what RoleCatcher offers.
So it's like having a mock interview with a virtual expert who can pinpoint areas where you can improve your delivery or like make your answer even stronger. That's amazing.
It really is. And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, let's talk about this next question. How do you stay up to date with industry developments and changes in regulation? The aviation industry is constantly evolving, so it's crucial to show your commitment to continuous learning.
I imagine the interviewer is looking for someone who's like truly passionate about the industry and genuinely invested in staying informed about the latest trends and advancements. How do you showcase that passion in your answer?
Well, go beyond just saying you read industry publications. Mention specific publications or online resources that you follow. Talk about conferences you've attended or any professional development courses you've completed. And here's a pro tip. RoleCatcher can actually analyze your target job description and even suggest relevant publications or courses based on the skills that the employer is looking for.
Wow, so it's like having a personalized reading list tailored to your career goals. That's fantastic.
It is. Now, let's tackle a question that requires a bit of strategic thinking. How do you measure the effectiveness of your training programs? This one is all about demonstrating your analytical skills and your commitment to continuous improvement.
Right, it's not enough to just deliver the training. You need to be able to assess whether it's actually working and make adjustments as needed. What are some ways to measure the effectiveness of your programs?
You can mention various methods like trainee feedback forms, performance assessments during simulations, or even post-training surveys to gauge knowledge retention and application. The key is to demonstrate a holistic approach, one that gathers data from multiple sources.
And I imagine it's also important to show that you're using this data to actually improve your programs, right?
Absolutely. Highlight how you analyze the feedback, identify areas for improvement, and then implement changes to enhance the overall effectiveness of your training. You might even mention specific examples of how you've revamped a training module based on trainee feedback or performance data.
That's a great way to showcase your commitment too, like providing the best possible learning experience for your trainees. Now let's talk about adaptability. This next question is all about tailoring your approach to meet the needs of diverse learners. Can you describe a time when you had to adapt your training program to meet the needs of a specific group of cabin crew members?
This question is particularly relevant in today's aviation industry, where you'll be working with trainees from all over the world, each with their own unique learning styles and cultural backgrounds.
Yeah, that's true. So the interviewer is assessing your cultural sensitivity and your ability to create that inclusive learning environment where everyone feels supported. How do you structure your answer to really showcase those skills?
Once again, the STAR method is your friend. Describe a specific situation where you had to adapt your training. Perhaps it was for a group with varying levels of experience or language barriers or even different cultural norms. Highlight the specific challenges you faced and the actions you took to overcome them.
Right, it's important to focus on the positive outcome, right?
Yeah.
Show how your adaptability ensured the success of the training and created a positive learning experience for everyone involved.
Exactly. And here's where RoleCatcher can add another layer of preparation. By analyzing the airline's workforce and the specific job description, it can provide insights into the types of diversity you might encounter and suggest relevant strategies for adapting your training. It's like having a cultural awareness coach right in your pocket.
That's incredibly helpful, especially if you're new to the airline or haven't had much experience working with diverse groups of trainees.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for a question that tests your creativity and your ability to think outside the box?
Aha, hit me with it.
All right, here it is. How do you ensure that your training programs are engaging and effective? This one's all about showing your passion for teaching and your willingness to go the extra mile to create a memorable learning experience.
You know, this is where you can really let your personality shine through and showcase your unique approach to training. Talk about the techniques you use to keep trainees engaged, like interactive activities, real-world simulations, or even, incorporating elements of gamification into your lessons.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
It's about showing that you understand adult learning principles and you're constantly looking for ways to make learning fun and effective.
You got it. And don't forget to mention how you measure the effectiveness of these techniques, like do you track trainee engagement, knowledge retention, or performance improvements? Data is your friend when it comes to demonstrating your commitment to continuous improvement.
That's where RoleCatcher can come in handy again, right?
Yeah.
Analyzing training trends and suggesting techniques that are proven to be effective.
Precisely. It's like having a whole team of instructional designers at your fingertips, helping you create the most engaging and effective training programs possible.
That's awesome. I'm starting to see how RoleCatcher can really, level up your interview prep game. But for now, let's
Yeah, we've covered
Yeah, we've covered a lot.
a lot of ground here.
Yeah, and I think we should pick up in part 2.
Definitely. We've got more insightful tips and strategies to help you nail this interview and, land that dream job. So make sure to tune in for part 2 of our deep dive. We'll delve even deeper into the world of cabin crew instructors. See you then.
See you there.
Welcome back to our deep dive into becoming a cabin crew instructor. We've already covered some pretty tough interview questions, but, we're just getting started.
Yeah, we've got a whole flight plan of insightful tips and strategies to help you navigate this interview and land that dream job.
And remember, we're not just giving you the answers here. We're teaching you how to think like an interviewer, craft responses that really showcase your skills and experience.
It's all about showing them you're not just a candidate. You're the future of cabin crew training.
Exactly.
So what's next on our interview prep checklist?
Let's talk about cross-cultural communication. Imagine you're asked, can you tell us about a time when you had to provide training to a group of cabin crew members who spoke a different language? This is particularly relevant in the global aviation industry.
Yeah, that's a great question. You're working with trainees from all over the world, each with their own unique cultural background and communication style. How do you create that inclusive learning environment where everyone feels comfortable and supported?
Well, start by acknowledging the challenge. You could say something like, training a multilingual group requires extra effort to ensure everyone understands the material and feels comfortable participating. Then use the STAR method to describe a specific situation where you faced this challenge.
Right, the STAR method. Yeah. It's all about setting the scene, outlining the task, explaining the action you took, and highlighting that positive result you achieved.
Exactly. Maybe you had to find creative ways to communicate complex safety procedures using visual aids or work with interpreters to ensure clear understanding. The key is to show that you're adaptable, resourceful, and committed to providing that positive learning experience for everyone.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher can be super helpful. It can analyze the airline's workforce demographics and suggest resources for bridging those language barriers. It's like having a personal language and culture consultant.
It really is. Now let's shift gears to a question that focuses on your organizational skills. How do you prioritize your workload when providing training to a large group of cabin crew members? Cabin crew instructors are juggling multiple responsibilities, from lesson planning to, individual trainee support.
Yeah, time management is key. How do you show the interviewer that you can handle the pressure and keep everything running smoothly?
Again, structure is crucial. Outline your general approach to workload management. Do you use a specific system, like prioritizing tasks based on deadlines or urgency? Do you rely on to-do lists, project management tools, or maybe a combination of methods?
It's also helpful to share a specific example of how you successfully managed a heavy workload in the past.
Absolutely. Perhaps you had to juggle multiple training sessions, prepare for an audit, and still provide individual support to struggling trainees. Explain how you stayed organized, delegated tasks when possible, and ensured everything was completed on time and to a high standard.
That's a great way to show you can stay calm under pressure and maintain a high level of productivity. And I bet RoleCatcher could provide some valuable insights here too. You could analyze your work history and identify potential time management challenges you might face in this specific role.
You're right. It could even suggest time management strategies based on best practices for cabin crew instructors. It's like having a personalized productivity coach right in your pocket.
Okay, let's tackle another question that often comes up in cabin crew instructor interviews. How do you ensure that your training programs are aligned with the company's goals and objectives? This one's all about showing you understand the bigger picture and how your work contributes to the airline's success.
It's about strategic thinking. Start by demonstrating your knowledge of the company's mission, vision, and values. You could say something like, I make sure to stay informed about the company's strategic goals by attending company-wide meetings, reading internal communications, and networking with colleagues in different departments.
It's not just about talking the talk, though. You need to show that you walk the walk.
Exactly. Give a concrete example of how you've aligned your training programs with company objectives in the past. Maybe you incorporated new safety protocols into a training module or developed a customer service training program that emphasized the airline's brand values.
That's a great way to show you're not just focused on delivering training, but you're thinking strategically about how to make a real impact on the company's performance.
And guess what? RoleCatcher can analyze the company's website, annual reports, and news articles to provide insights into their strategic priorities. This information can help you, tailor your answers and demonstrate a deep understanding of how your training programs can support their goals.
That's amazing. It's like having a whole research team working behind the scenes to help you prepare for your interview.
Now, before we move on to the next set of questions, let's address something that often causes anxiety for candidates. Those unexpected curveball questions that interviewers love to throw in.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded curveballs. Like, if you could be any type of aircraft, what would you be and why? Those questions can really throw you off your game. How do you prepare for the unpredictable?
The key is to stay calm, think strategically, and don't be afraid to pause for a moment to gather your thoughts. Even if you don't have a ready-made answer, you can use the opportunity to showcase your problem-solving skills and your ability to think on your feet.
So it's not necessarily about having the right answer. It's about demonstrating your thought process and how you approach those unfamiliar situations.
Exactly. And believe it or not, RoleCatcher can actually help you prepare for these curveball questions. By analyzing thousands of interview questions and responses, it can identify common themes and trends, giving you a sense of the types of questions that might come up.
That's amazing. It's like having a crystal ball that gives you a glimpse into the interviewer's mind. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from dissecting common interview questions to exploring how RoleCatcher's AI can give you a serious edge in the job market.
But we're not done yet. We still have more insightful tips and strategies to share, including how to use RoleCatcher to tailor your answers and stand out from the competition. So buckle up for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll reveal the secrets to crafting compelling responses that truly showcase your skills and experience.
Don't miss it. We'll see you back here soon for the final leg of our journey to becoming a cabin crew instructor. All right, welcome back to our deep dive. We're in the final stretch now. We've been talking about the role of a cabin crew instructor, those tricky interview questions, and now let's really zero in on how to use RoleCatcher's AI to just, really make your application shine.
Yeah, we've already touched on how RoleCatcher can be such a game changer when it comes to analyzing job descriptions and suggesting, which of your skills to highlight. But honestly, it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
It's almost like having, a personal interview coach who's laser focused on what this particular airline is looking for.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just generic interview tips then.
Yeah.
It's actually tailoring those responses to the company and the specific role you're applying for.
Exactly. Let's think back to that very first question we talked about, the one about your experience as a cabin crew instructor. Remember, instead of just listing your past roles, you can use RoleCatcher to really pinpoint those key skills and experiences that match up perfectly with that job description.
Right, and don't forget about quantifying those achievements whenever possible. Saying, I improved safety procedures by 10% sounds way more impressive than just, I improve safety procedures.
Exactly. Numbers make it real, They make it memorable. Now, let's think about that question about ensuring new cabin crew members are properly trained. Remember that one? RoleCatcher can actually dive into training trends and then recommend techniques that are proven to work well for that specific airline's training program.
Okay, so instead of just mentioning some run-of-the-mill training methods, I could actually use RoleCatcher to suggest things that this airline might already be doing.
Exactly.
Or things they're specifically looking for. That way, I can show I've done my homework.
You got it. It's all about showing them you're not just knowledgeable about training in general, but that you're ready to train their way. Now, let's revisit that question about dealing with a difficult cabin crew member. Conflict resolution.
Oh, yeah.
That one can be tricky.
Yeah, definitely. Even using the STAR method, it's sometimes hard to know what kind of example will resonate with the interviewer.
Well, that's where RoleCatcher's AI can really step in. It can actually look at your past experiences and pick out situations that are super relevant to this particular role. And get this, it can even analyze those practice answers you give and give you feedback on like how to improve your delivery and everything.
Wow, so it's like having a mock interview with like an expert who knows exactly what this airline is looking for when it comes to conflict management skills.
Exactly. Okay, how about that question about staying up to date with the latest developments in the industry? So instead of just saying you read some industry publications, you can use RoleCatcher to find the ones that are most relevant to, this specific airline or even their specific area of operation.
Oh, I see. So, like, if the airline mostly does international flights, I might mention a publication that's all about international aviation regulations.
You got it.
Okay.
Shows you've done your research, you're genuinely invested in staying ahead of the curve in a way that matters to them. And remember that question about how you measure the effectiveness of your training.
Yes.
Mm.
We talked about using data to make things better, to make improvements.
Right. RoleCatcher can help you pinpoint the exact data points or metrics that this airline might be super interested in. It can even suggest tools and technologies they might be using for data analysis.
So I can show them I'm not just data-driven, but I'm familiar with their internal tools and methods too.
Exactly. And when it comes to adapting training programs for different groups of people, diversity, RoleCatcher can give you really valuable insights into the demographics and cultural backgrounds of the airline's workforce.
Oh, I get it. So instead of just talking about general strategies for inclusive training, I can use RoleCatcher to research the specific challenges and opportunities that might exist within this specific airline.
Precisely. It shows you're not just applying a one-size-fits-all approach, you're really thinking about their unique needs and ready to tailor your methods. And finally, remember that question about aligning your training programs with the company's goals.
Yeah, we talked about that, showing you understand the bigger picture.
Right. Well, RoleCatcher can actually analyze the company's website, their annual reports, all those recent news articles, and give you a really deep understanding of what their priorities are right now, their strategic initiatives.
Oh, that's awesome. That way, I can really connect my training program to their specific goals. Show them I'm not just a trainer, but a real partner who's invested in their success. This is incredible. I'm really seeing how RoleCatcher can just take your whole interview game to another level, from like the prep all the way to how you actually deliver those answers.
And don't forget, it can help you tackle those unexpected curveball questions too. By looking at common themes and trends in interview questions, it's like having a sneak peek into the interviewer's playbook.
Well, folks, there you have it. We've covered it all. We explored the world of a cabin crew instructor, tackled those tough interview questions, and we even unlocked the power of RoleCatcher's AI to help you prepare, refine your answers, and ultimately just nail that interview.
Remember, preparation is key. Take the time to really research the role, the company, the industry. Practice your answers, and most importantly, let your passion and enthusiasm shine through.
And definitely check out RoleCatcher. It's an amazing resource that can give you that extra edge you need to land your dream job. We wish you all the best in your interview and on your journey to becoming a successful cabin crew instructor.
Safe travels, everyone.